Here's another prediction. Automization of business processes will become the norm. Now, in last year's book, I spoke very much of the Amazonification of business processes. Just to recap a little, Amazon has grown the way it's grown simply through adopting automation at every level. And they've not stopped that adoption of new technology, although, as we'll see later, there are other companies who now have learnt from the Amazon experience and have refined it to more fully match where the market is moving. One of the great strengths of the Amazon model is that it can get products to the customer within a fairly repeatable 24-hour time frame. It does this by using what's known as just-in-time or JIT product handling. This is something that has been in existence for decades after being pioneered and most famously used by some of the Japanese car manufacturers. Since then, it's been adopted throughout much of the competitive end of the manufacturing industry. Its many advantages, obviously, such as reducing the amount of stock needing to be held, which, as you know, ties up both expensive storage space as well as cash, on which one will probably have to pay interest, and so much more. Up until recently, just-in-time really only worked within the well-organised supply chain stretching from raw material suppliers through to goods warehousing and in larger operations, extending out into supplying finished goods to go on the shelves in the retail space. Yet there was always a weakness in extending that out to the end user, as it was virtually impossible for them to purchase the product without walking into a physical store. Certainly, mail order companies had a slight advantage in that once the customer had ordered the goods, they could be dispatched as the final part of the supply chain. But even there, a business could only ever estimate how much units they would sell, and once the stock had run out, the remaining customers would have to wait for their product. Obviously, this was a hugely positive outcome for the mail order company, as they would then only need to reorder enough products to fulfill remaining orders, which is far better than having overestimated and losing money on stuff that doesn't sell. Although for the customer, having to wait for a product to be manufactured, shipped through the supply chain and then delivered out to them was not always what they wanted. Automization, coupled with web-based sales, as exemplified by the likes of Amazon, have been central to extending the supply chain right the way through to the end user using just-in-time processes. To the point where, in these cases, it's now the end user who instigates the whole process from start to finish. With electronic products, that's obviously ever so easy, as well as for products like CDs, DVDs and books, as these can be manufactured and printed on demand. But it doesn't stop there. Again, from last year's book, I showed you how the upsurge in commercial 3D printing has extended the JIT process out to a massive range of physical products in every sector. And this trend is still growing, and it's growing now even faster than it did last year. So one question you should ask yourself is, should 3D printing be part of my manufacturing supply process? Well, if you're into that, maybe not now, but certainly it may have a place in your future, and possibly more quickly than you think. However, the Amazon model has been improved upon as far as the automation process goes. The new kids on the block are people like Uber, Lyft, Airbnb and AirNet and so on.